Hey, I hope you guys are doing all right. So today I'm going to show you how to paint like a 2D animation style scene. Here I'm going to show you a dusk scene with lots of clouds and sun rays reflecting, and then I will show you how to animate the scene with the help of Flash, and I'll just add a cute little bird that will fly away to the sunset. So let's start. So I'll take a document size little larger than 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is a little larger than HD size for video. You can take the exact size of the video you want to make or larger, but try to maintain the aspect ratio more or less, because later on we will be working on the animation part based on these objects that we will make here in Photoshop. So I'll just fill the layer with a blue, medium blue color, and then make another layer and take a darker blue color and just shade the upper side with a soft brush, because it's going to be a sunset scene, so the sun will be at the bottom left corner. That's what my choice of position of the sun, so the light will be reflecting upward, so the farther it will go away from sun will be darker. So now I'm shading with a bit of purple. Now I'm coloring with orange, and then I'll just give a bit more pinkish color here because the transition will feel better. Now I just finish it up with yellow, so the color gradually moves. Now I go to filter, blur and Gaussian blur, and then blur all the colors to mix it up with each other well. And then I'll just merge it down with the bottom layer, the original blue layer that I made. Now I'm taking a soft brush and take the shape dynamics option and also turning on the paint pressure option under control. Now I took a different purple color and just outlining the clouds here. Now since I'm painting for animation style, 2D animation style, I have to give a lot of vibrant color, and I have to give a very high contrast. The color contrast has to be more dramatic, since everything in animation a bit exaggeration of the reality, so we have to keep that in mind. And while drawing the clouds, I will suggest that you should take a bit suggestion from the images, real life images, how the clouds form or how their shapes are. So I'll now just fill the clouds up with the same color that I drew the borders with. So after filling up, this is the base of the cloud that I've created. Now since the light is coming from bottom left to top right, I'll just create a layer of shades or shadows with a bit of darker purple color, and I'll just start marking the area where the shadow should fall on the clouds, like on this side. And it doesn't have to be perfect, or it doesn't have to be a lot of shadows, because there will be other colors on top of it to match it. So I'll just draw quickly on which part the shadows will be, or the darker part of the clouds will be. Now that I've done the shadow part of all the clouds, I'll just start working on the light part where the light is falling. So I'll start coloring this side a bit orangish, because when the light falls on clouds, it has many layers of colors, many combination of colors. So I'll just start with orange, and then I'll shade it with yellow and other colors. Just make sure that the color you are giving to your painting should not be too bright, not extremely bright. They should be bright, but not like fluorescent color or anything. So I just tone it down a bit, because the initial orange color looked extremely bright. Try to create shades where you can create a fluff or kind of layer of clouds on top of the cloud mask. So you have to create that layer with different color and shades. Like the cloud is like a fluffy cotton, and it has different layer, and the light falls accordingly. So just create some different shades at different part of the mask of the cloud. Now taking yellow color, it's a bit darker than usual yellow color we use, because now we don't want it to look too bright, yet we want to keep the vibrance of the colors. We want to make it interesting. I think this color looks good to start off. Now just took a little bit more darker yellow color, and just coloring on top of the previous color, so it's giving a bit more volume to the image, also makes the shades more lively, and give the dynamics of the light that is playing on the cloud. Now for a bit variation purpose, I'm just adding a bit of purple color, a more like a deep pink, and just giving shades at the border of the orange color. It's like when orange transition to deep purple or dark purple, it gives this kind of pinkish color. Okay, so I've colored all the clouds like this, and I've also included the original medium purple color that I have used before. Now I'm going to blend all the color to make it look smooth and give it a very fluffy feeling. I just reduce the opacity of my brush and just uncheck the shape dynamics option. Now just press Alt from your keyboard and take the nearest color and brush it on top of the joint of both the colors with low opacity so that they start mixing well. I think in Mac this is the Option key from your keyboard. I don't know, I have to check that. Just continuously take the color at the border of the two colors and start smudging, or rather I should say start blending both the colors. This way the colors become smooth and it mixes well. For example, here I'm just taking a bit of orange and mixing it with the purple color. Again, I'm taking a bit of purple and mixing out at the joint, and then the new color that is being created, I'm taking that color, and then I'm just brushing it at the joint. So like that it get mixed up. You can use the smudge tool here if you are comfortable with it, but smudge tool will not give this much precise result. So you can start with smudge tool and make the initial blending, and then use this method on top of it to make it smoother and look more natural. But I'll suggest to you to use smudge tool only if you are comfortable with it, and only if you know how to use it properly. Because if you do not use it in a proper way, like with lesser strength or more strength of smudge tool, you can make it a mess when you try to use the tool. So be careful with that. And see, it's already started to look like it's getting blended and quite smooth. I will continue like this with other clouds as well. Okay, I've done with the clouds color blending. Now before I go further, I'll just separate all the clouds from one layer, and we'll keep them in separate layer because I want to animate each of the cloud separately. So I'll just make separate layers for each cloud, just like this. I can move each cloud as I wish. Now I just made another layer on top of the background color layer, and now I'm going to draw a second set of clouds. These are kind of clouds that are a little bit far away from this first batch of clouds that I have made. These clouds will be a bit darker and a bit thinner because these looks like further away from the other clouds, and they are just secondary. They are kind of secondary clouds. So I just outline the clouds and filling up the color just like before. Now giving shades, but I won't give them too much details like the clouds I've painted before, because these are the secondary clouds. These are just there to create the contrast with the background and the foreground clouds. It's kind of helping the transition of the heavily contrasted, heavily vibrant clouds to more smooth and blended background, giving them a bit of shades on the lighter side. Here I'm just smudging the shades quickly. Now I'm just adding a bit of darker blue color on a new layer and then blurring it just to give the background a bit darker shades, especially the top side, which is further away from sun. So, and then I just merge it down with the background color. Now I took the solid brush with 100% hardness and increased the spacing of the brush over here, and then turned on the shape dynamics option, turning off control pen pressure, and increased the size jitter, and took small size brush as a whole, and then start just brushing on the sky, especially on the bluer, more darker part, just to create some stars with white color. Now just took a low opacity eraser and going to erase the stars that closer to sun. I'm not going to erase them completely, but we'll just keep a little vague, a faint idea that there are stars, but it is hard to see because of the sun rays. And now with the black color on a new layer on top of every other layer, I'll just paint a low ground and I'll just paint it all black because it's kind of like a silhouette of the foreground. Now I'll just add a tree maybe over here. I'll just draw a tree. So with the same brush, I'll just draw the bark, the stem, whatever you call it. Now I'll take a texture brush, a brush like this, and just brush on top of the tree gently. I won't drag the brush. I'll just gently tap the brush so that it will give that fuzzy, leafy feeling on the tree. Okay, so this is the brush. This brush I used. This is a basic brush that came with Photoshop CS6, I suppose. You can use any texture brush if you want, but I just like this brush, so I used it. So I'll just add another tree beside it because this tree looks a bit lonely all by itself, and some bushes around the trees. It will give a bit variety to the land. Okay, now I took a layer on top of the background colored layer and just took a huge soft brush, and with the light yellow color I'm just creating a setting sun aura, a light reflection of a setting sun over here. Okay, now I took a light yellow color and with the soft brush I'm just drawing some straight lines diagonally like this. These will be sun rays. Now I'll just select each of those rays and go to filter, blur, motion blur. So the angle of the blur will be the angle of the ray. For example, for the first ray the angle will be less tilted, and for the fourth ray the angle will be more tilted, just like how the rays are compared to the ground. As for the distance amount, you have to check yourself which one gives more natural look and try to keep that same value for all the rays while doing this process. Now I'm going to cut the second and fourth rays from the layer and put them in a separate layer and just drag them down to the first layer of clouds so that it looks like the layers are not at the same plane, the clouds are in between. Just improvise at this point. Now because of cutting the layer, there's a sharp edge in the light rays, so I'll just take a eraser and erase the sharpness of the edges. Now reduce the opacity of the light rays layers to 90% or maybe 85%. It would give more natural look in the image. Now I will take the eraser and I'll choose that same texture brush that I used for the leaf and reduce the opacity. Now just slightly stroke on the sides of the trees and on the ground so that it looks like the light is actually coming through. It won't give that solid look on the leaves. Also it would look like the light is actually falling on the bark and on the bushes and land. Now I've just added another coat of color, a brighter yellow color, to shade the edges of the clouds after adding the sun rays, because after adding the sun rays I was feeling the clouds are not bright enough, so I just added a lighter yellow to give it a more shine or more reflection of the light on the clouds. But more or less this is how you paint the scene. Now I'm going to animate this scene on Flash. Okay, so I open the Flash and I'm going to choose ActionScript 3 to start my work. Now Flash will give you a predefined stage size, so I'm not going to change it right now. I'll just import my work first. Make sure you properly name your layers in the Photoshop while you are working so that later on you can recognize them. Now I'll choose File, Import, and Import to Library. I want to keep them in library so that I can take them and place them on stage however I want, whenever I want, while I am working. Now while importing, I'll just select my file and these are the layers that Flash will import. Now I have to choose these options. Always choose editable bitmap because you want to be able to edit these layers later on. So once you select that button, you have to give an instance name, and registration always keep it in the middle. That is the pivot point because it will be imported as a symbol. Now compression, I prefer lossless because it will give a higher resolution, a better quality. I'll just repeat this process for all the layers. Now they're all here in library once I've imported in library. Now I'll change the size of the stage. I'll change it to 1920 and 1080 pixels width and height. There is our stage. Now I'll bring all the objects that I've imported from Photoshop on the stage. So for each layer that you have imported from Photoshop, create a new layer on Flash. Like for background, I've created a layer. Now for the background clouds, I created another layer and placed it on it. Like this we have to continue. Now I have brought in all the layers on the stage. The layers that we are not going to move, let's just lock those layers, like background and the trees layer and the land layer and the sun rays. Now the layers that we will be working with are the clouds layers. So just select all the layers while pressing Ctrl from your keyboard. I think for Mac it's Command Option on your keyboard. So all the cloud layers are selected. Now select this free transform tool and just enlarge the clouds. Now I'm going to select each cloud separately and change their sizes. I'll just do it separately randomly. It totally depends on you how you want it. So after arranging the position and everything, I'll start working on the animation part. Now I've chosen 24 fps work file, so that is there will be 24 frames in 1 second of animation. So if I want to make 10 seconds of animation, I'll be needing 240 frames here. So I just go at the 240th frame and just select all the layers under the keyframe and right click and insert frame. So we have marked our animation length over here. Now I'll start with this cloud. Select the first keyframe and move it down here on this side. Now I'm going to the 240th frame and right click, insert a keyframe and then move it up like this. Position it according to your choice. Now right click on any of the frames in between and select create classic twin. Now I'm going to do the same thing for other clouds and change position again and create classic twin. And this movement depends on you how you want your clouds to move. So I'm going to make them move from bottom right to top left, like in an angular way. Only one cloud, the leftmost cloud, will be coming in to the stage from outside, so it will actually move to a different direction. Like that, I'll just move all the clouds, including the layer of the background clouds. I'll just reposition the entire layer on right side a little bit outside of the stage, and then at the 240th frame I'll just move it a bit towards left and then create classic twin. Now the pace of the movement, that is the speed of the movement of the clouds, depends on how much area it covers within that 10 seconds. Now I'm just taking a layer on top of all the other layers, and I just locked all the other layers because my work on movement, cloud movement and other things on the image is done. I'm going to add a bird in the scene. So I just name the layer bird and I just zoom in a bit, take the brush with black color and draw a bird. I'll start the bird with its wing in medium open position kind of place, so that I can animate it on both sides, like when the wing will be go upward and then downward. Now I'll just fill it up with black because it will be like a silhouette like other foreground elements, but I'll just add a bit of orange color as the ray is falling on the bird as well. Now that I've painted the bird, let's just select the entire bird and convert it to a symbol. I'm just keeping the symbol type as graphic and registration obviously in the middle. Now go inside the symbol, just double click on the bird and go inside the symbol bird, and now insert a new blank keyframe and just turn the onion skin on from here. Now I'll paint other movement of the bird. So I'm going to make a frame by frame animation here, just painting the bird's wings a bit upward. Now I'm going to copy these layers so that I can bring the wing down to the previous position, the first position. I just copied it down, and also I copied the first position. Now from this position I will move the wings downwards. So there will be, first there's the middle position, then two frames are used to make the wings upward, then reverse those two frames to make the wings go to its previous position and the bird reaches its previous position. Now I'm drawing the wings that will move downwards, adding a blank keyframe each time I'm drawing, either by right clicking or hitting the F7 key from my keyboard. Now I'm drawing another movement of the bird's wings. So from the middle position, there's first is a little lower position. Now another one is more low. It's lower than the previous one. Now in this next frame, I'm just making its wings totally downwards. After this, it will go back upwards. Now I just select the previous two keyframes together and then copy it, and I'll just paste it beside that downmost position. Now it will go reverse, so I have to reverse these two keyframes. So I'll go to modify, transform, reverse frames. So the frames will be reversed and it will end at the position right below the original position that I have made. At this point, the animation will end, the keyframing will end, because after that it will be looped. So after this position again it will go to the middle position, then upward, and again come down to middle, then a downward position. You can just make fewer frames, like start from upward, then middle position and the down position, and in between few frames. You can do that way. Now I'm just giving shades to the bird with the orange color, like the initial bird drawing that I made. So I'll just give shades like that to all the other keyframes to make it uniform. I think the bird movement is a bit faster when I use all the keyframes side by side. So I'll just add blank frames in between each keyframe. Each movement will take 2 frames, which is okay because it won't look that bad, and also it will reduce the pace of its flapping wings. Okay, now that I've made all the keyframes, now see here the tail is more stretched when the wings are upward, and as wings are going down, the tail becomes more flatter, squeezed, because that will give the sense of motion, like the bird's body is moving with the wings flapping and it's actually corresponding to the wings flapping. So this way the movement will look more natural. Let's just see how it looks by pressing Ctrl Enter from our keyboard. It will give an overview. So this is how it looks like so far. Now I'll get out of that symbol and going to scene 1, our main working stage. Now I'll just select last frame of the bird layer, 240th frame, and insert a keyframe. Now I'm going back to the first frame of the bird layer and moving the layer towards a bit right and top, and then going to the last frame, moving it downwards here and reducing the size with free transform tool. Now right click on any of the frames in the middle and create classic twin. Now as I scrub through the timeline, I can see the bird is moving as well as becoming smaller, as if it going further away from our view. Let's see a preview. Yes, it creates that illusion. Now I've noticed that the shiny part on the bottom left corner of the image that I've drawn in Photoshop is gone when I put the image in a flash. What we can do here is I just took a layer just on top of the background layer and took the oval tool. It's supposed to be under rectangle tool option. So I'll just make the stroke color to none and fill color to a light yellow color, and then press shift from my keyboard and drag so that it makes a perfect round. It already has its frame range till 240th frame. Now I'll just go to modify, convert to symbol, and convert it to a movie clip with registration in the middle. I just gave it a name, And now here you can get this filter option. So from bottom add filter option, just add blur option. I'm changing the quality to high, and then I'm just increasing the blur X and blur Y. Just make sure both are linked together so that both the blur amount are same. So we have created our missing sun. Now save your work and you can export from directly from here. There are different options. You can directly convert it from here, or you can use some other software. So this is the final product of my work. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you like it and want more videos like that, just subscribe to the channel, and if you wish, connect with me through social media. So enjoy creating, enjoy painting, and have a great day. Bye bye.